Hello everyone, got around to doing a new review today. I know it's been a long time since I did my last one, and today I'm doing Heljans Kestrel. I will say before I start, I did actually mention in my Big Boy review, if you've seen the Heljan Kestrel review, you'll know the Big Boy is the same box. The reason I said that was, I'd actually recorded a review for Heljans Kestrel, but I wasn't happy with it because the footage was just far too dark. I know my Big Boy wasn't exactly bright, but this was really dark and it was very, very blurry. So, I'm going to do a new one for you. So, Heljan box. It's a little bit worn. This box is a couple of years old now. So on the end, there's my little sticker there just to remind me what it goes with. Heljan 4000 limited. Oh, sorry, Kestrel 4000 limited edition locomotive. Yeah, I can't read at the minute. Sorry. Produced by Heljan in 2009. It's a 00 scale model of a British prototype built in 1968. But I'll get into that later. We'll open the box first. A very tight fit, this box. Right. And over to the side. What have we got? Got this. This is actually the sound I installed in it. That'll be in a separate video. I'm just going to do the model for now. It's house sound, so cover all that later though. Right. You get one of these. These little slips of paper saying limited edition model. It's number 1740 of 4000. Only 4000 of these were produced because the real locomotive could produce 4000 horsepower. And as far as I know, there's no other British locomotive that's actually managed to achieve 4000. Only the Americans, and I think the Swiss as well, have got that kind of power. It's just a nice little touch. We've got the weird multiple Heljan, well, the real Kestrel photograph there. Don't know what that's about. It looks pretty good though. It's a bit obscure. And we've also got this. A sheet about all the history of the actual locomotive, little diagrams how to install DCC. Because I'm going to be honest, the one thing I don't like about Heljan models is the fact that if you look at the DCC socket in the locomotive, it doesn't tell you which is pin 1. You've actually got to read the instructions for it. Now, I'm not saying it's a bad thing you've got to read the instructions, I'm not quite sure why it's not labelled, that's all. There's that picture again. Basically, it's saying about how it's developed to proper 00 scale. There's something mentioning it's a 5-pole motor. It can pull 15 coaches on level. It's actually a very, very heavy model, but the haulage capacity, I think it should be more than 15, but I'll get into why it's not as strong as I thought it would be a bit later on. It says about the DCC. I want to drop my camera cable on the floor, sorry about that. A bit of information there about the real thing, and all the history of it. Basically, if you don't know what Kestrel was, it was a 4,000 horsepower diesel locomotive built in the end of 1967 into 1968 and came into service on the 29th of January with British Railways. It was a prototype diesel, basically to see what they could do, and it was only used for 3 years. It was eventually about halfway through 1971. It was shipped over to Russia for testing over there. They modified it, used it for quite a while. To cut a long story short, it ended up being scrapped in Russia in about 1993, so it was around for quite a while. I did hear a group of enthusiasts went over to see if they could recover any of it that's left, but as far as I know, they were unsuccessful in doing that. So basically, as far as the design goes, it was a success. It had a single engine, a V16 turbocharged engine producing, of course, 4,000 horsepower. And a top speed of 125 miles an hour. One little thing, if you notice there, actually I don't know if you can read it because the camera's not brilliant. It says 133 tons as built, and I'll show you what was changed on it on the model. But when it was built, it was about 13 tons too heavy, so they had to change some little parts of it. And I'll show you one of the ones that this model represents right now. Well, first, here's in the box. You get these little extra detailing parts here, which is basically a massive selection of little extra rods and hoses and cables. To be honest, I do use them on other models. It's a very useful extra, that. Excuse me. Here's a buffer beam. Yeah, it's already got all the details on it. I think it's absolutely brilliant. I love the fact Heljan put that in. It's nice to actually get buffer beam detail and not have to mess about just filing it down, sticking it on, make sure it's in the right place, it's not going to fall off. And here we have the model itself. With a cellophane to help you pull it out of the box. And a nice foam wrapping. Yep. Place the box on the floor so it's out of my way. And here's Heljans Kestrel, or as my fiance calls it, the Eclair. You can see why. Let's get a bit of track to put it on. Right. There we go. Very nice looking locomotive. Slightly similar to a Class 47 in its looks, with the twin fans together. It's actually got two at the other end, slightly separate. I say about a Class 47 because one of the parts that was modified to make this locomotive light enough, it was actually fitted with Class 47 bogies, which was how this model represents the real thing. One thing I will say is if you actually look this end of the model, this is the normal end for the front, so the head code here, 1N06. But the reason I've got it the other way around is because it actually had a problem with one of the tail lights. It was shining, it was some light was coming through from the main headlight and shining up one of the tail lights. So eventually I used a bit of black tack to stick it and make a bit of a barrier, and that completely solved it. But by then I'd already made this end the leading end. This is also a removable buffer beam. It comes with one plain buffer beam and two detail buffer beams. So basically you can either display it or run one end of it. So I think it's nice either way though. Anyway, what's the model like? Well, let's tilt the camera down a little bit. There we go. All these little handrails here are all separately fitted metal parts. The actual application of the decals on the model is very, very nicely done. The only thing is I think there's a slight scratch on one of the zeros. I'm not sure which one it is, but a tiny, tiny bit of white paint would absolutely fix that up. It's all very easily legible. Even the black plate on the door, you can read it says brush traction. Next that's the Hawker Siddeley, the HS. It all says Hawker Siddeley. It's very, very well done. It's got things such as the electrical warning plates there. I will say one thing about the detail of this model. One thing I don't like, I'm not sure if you can make it out, there's actually a broken cable there. What it is, that's the ETHS, and it's actually fixed to the body, not to the buffer beam. So basically when you take the body off, that ends up getting trapped between the chassis and the buffers, and so it breaks. I had a problem with that at the other end, but I managed to fix that. And basically by gluing it in place and then painting around where it glued. There you can see the whole buffer beam very well. There's a proper 3-link coupling. There's about 6 or 7 different cables, so there's a lot of detail at the ends. So this is the end I normally use, 1A32. That's heading south from Edinburgh to London King's Cross, whereas the other end will be heading north from London King's Cross to Edinburgh. Overall, the model is absolutely brilliant. It feels a little chunky, and it feels a little simple in some ways, like the mouldings of the exhaust ports. However, it does work. It is a very, very nice model. I mean, the horns, they're all separately fitted. It does look like there's a little bit of sprue, a little bit of like a bit extra, like where the moulding's taken place. So there's a few things that aren't perfect about it, but to be honest with you, I think just the look of the locomotive itself is absolutely brilliant. And little problems like that, you can go, oh, sorry, it's fine. So you've got more separately applied handrails at the front. One thing I was saying about the power, why it was so weak, it's only pulling 15 coaches on the flat. I thought this would be able to pull about 30 plus coaches. However, for some reason, I don't know why Heljan do this. They've rectified it now, but back in 2009, for some reason, out of all the 6 axles, the middle 2 of the bogies are not actually powered. And I've no idea why. Now, as far as I know, they are powering all the axles. But I've never understood why they've done that. So it's a bit of a shame, because the model itself could really, pull a lot more. I mean, I only pull 5 coaches with it, so it's not really that bad. So yeah, you've got the is that extra that's separately applied. Yes, all the fuel tank down here and everything. So I've never noticed there's a little thing in there before. Still noticing things about this model even after all this time. Right, I've got it hooked up to a live section of track. I'm going to show you it running forward and reverse on a piece of track on a flat surface. I know I usually show it running in my sound videos, but for those who don't actually have any interest in the sound, I just want to show them what this one's like at low speed. Because to be honest, it's a very smooth runner, and I mean very smooth. It literally crawls along the track. I have my decoder set to 14 speed steps because for some reason the house chip in it when it runs, speed step 1 and 2 are exactly the same as our 3 and 4 and 5 and 6. It doesn't seem to go on 28 speed steps, it only seems to respond to 14. So if I put it up to speed step 1, yeah, that's moving. That's how steady this model runs at slow speed. That's absolutely brilliant. I mean, you could leave this thing there for 10 minutes and it would have only moved its own body length. It's very, very hard to see. Here's speed step 2. You put a bit of speed there. It's still very smooth. I'll take it back the other way. Unfortunately, I don't have an oval to run it on or anything, so I can't show you this running round. Like I say, if you're interested in seeing running though, I will be doing it on a rolling road in my sound video. Right, bring it to a stop. Now, if you remember me mentioning, I had problems with the headlights on the model. One of the headlights was filtering some white light into one of the tail lights and making it shine when it wasn't supposed to. One thing that people say about the headlights on this model is they're far too bright. I've got the tail lights on there at a minute. Well, I'll show you them first, seeing as we've got them on. So they are very bright, they are prominent, you can see them very well. But if I change to the headlight, it's overly bright. It's very, very powerful LED they've got behind there. It's not shining through the casing, but you can actually see where the gap is between the plastic covering and the head code is. And it is very, very bright. Even the house the ECC sound sheet I've got says, when next to the lights function in brackets, reprogram the CV to dim the lights because they are far too bright. To be honest though, I haven't done that because it's not particularly bothered me that much. It is just the lights, and as long as it works, that's all I'm bothered about. Just bring it back to the middle of the camera. There we go. So in conclusion, Heljan's Eclair on wheels. Things that I like about it, overall the model is very, very well built. There's plenty of extra details on the front and rear. The moulded detail on it is very, very well done. It seemed a little chunky in a way, but at the same time it's quite sleek. It's a really, really weird thing. The glazing's done very, very well. The details have been stuck on very, very well. The painting's been done very well. The build quality is very good. The running characteristics are very good as well. Is there anything I don't like about the model? Well, in all honesty, there are two things I would change, and only one of them is the model. The thing I'd change, the centre axles, as I mentioned, are unpowered. I would have had them powered. That's the only change I would have done to the model. The other change I would have made to the box, because the box, I want to show you. Just tilt the camera up. As you can see, the box is just this foam lining. Now this is actually my second model of the Heljan Kestrel. Reason being, the first model I had actually fell off a shelf and it broke. The reason it broke is because this foam here is actually very, very soft foam, and it banged against the end of the box, and that's what broke it. Whereas the newer Heljan models, they're actually in a solid plastic casing, similar to things that Bachmann and the Hornby are adopting nowadays. And to be honest, that isn't much better. It's just a shame this one didn't have it. But it's an older model. I cannot complain about that, as it's something that they've rectified very shortly afterwards. So at the end of the day, Heljan Kestrel, if you can find it, as I said, it's a limited edition model. I've seen one available on Hattons for £150. When they came out originally, they were £100 or 99, as far as I remember. And I got mine for I think it was that price actually, £99. They are becoming a collector's item now, but if you can get your hands on one, get one. I swear this is a brilliant model. If I had to give it out of 10, I'd give it a 9 out of 10. Final comment on it. Brilliantly made model with very little how can I put it, brilliantly made model with very little that I would change. There you go. So, I hope you enjoyed this review. I'm going to put the sound up next. I'll put an annotation somewhere here. I hope you enjoyed that as well if you're into the sound. Thanks for watching, and I shall see you later.